Hey everyone, hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope everybody's been well. And right now I'm just doing my morning I'd say inspection, my morning walk, and just checking out the property, see if anything had changed throughout the night and if there's anything that needs to be addressed, you know, like a fallen tree or anything like that. I can check it out. Now, today's video, I'm going to be talking about the difference between series and parallel and how you should wire your stuff. Well, I should say how you should wire your stuff up, how I wire my stuff up based on my application. And it's all preference. And I'm going to talk about the difference in series and the difference in parallel. And there is a big difference when you start wiring that kind of system up. And, you know, overall, before I start this video, if you're going to install a system in your house or cabin, be sure to consult with an electrician or somebody that knows what they're doing, because you know, it's not just hooking up a positive negative and then running it like that. There is a lot more into it. So let's go in the cabin, check it out, and let's go hook up these batteries. So today we're going to be hooking up two new lithium batteries, either in series or parallel, and I'll show you that in a second. But this is going to be separate from this system here. We're going to be doing, or I'm going to be wiring up a 12-volt system, and that is mainly for my 12-volt split unit air conditioner from Out-Equip Pro. And I did a test the other day, and I ran that mini split with these batteries for 11 hours. That's right, 11 hours. And these aren't very big batteries. Those batteries are 12 volts. It is separate than this system right here. This system here is a 48 volt system, which is tied into my breaker box, which provides power to all the outlets here at the cabin. This system right here pumps out 15,000 watts of power, or 15 kW. Now, do you need that much at your cabin or your off-grid property? Well, it all comes down to preference. Before I did this system up, I consulted with a buddy of mine, the sonar angler, and we drew out a system that I would be using for this particular cabin. Now, some of the things you need to take into mind is your daily consumption of wattage. How much wattage or power are you going to use during the day? And this could also change if it's during the seasons, winter, summer, you know, or spring. Now, during the winter, I did have my wood stove going, but I did supplement the heat with a diesel heater. Now, during the summer, we're here in the South, in East Tennessee, it'll be 104 degrees outside, and I need an air conditioner. So you have to take into consideration all those. You know, I run my Starlink 24/7. I've got internet here and there, so it's constantly pulling wattage. I have my TV. I stream videos to that TV, my lamps, and all the other stuff. You know, my air fryer for cooking, my microwave, and then I also cook using electrical or gas, depending on what I'm making. So with all that's taken in consideration, I estimated what my daily wattage or consumption, power consumption would be. And I can't forget the exact number. I have to go back into my notes. But what I did is I tacked on an additional 200 to 300 watts on that just to be safe. And is 15K plenty for this cabin? I mean, I'm going to admit it's plenty for the cabin. So if you think about doing solar, sit down, put down, you know, and draw out your system, and then you can base what size panels you need, how many batteries you need, inverters, and then go from there if you're going to go series or in parallel. Now, a lot of folks ask me the advantages of solar. Now, I am completely off the grid. I don't have any utilities coming into this property. Now, solar energy is renewable. It's inexhaustible power source that drastically lowers your household bills, or even no bills. I have not paid an electricity bill in over a year and a half. It's pretty much going on 2 years. Now, it protects against rising utility rates. That's one good thing about, and solar is free from the sun. It reduces a home's carbon footprint, and it also can increase property values while requiring minimal ongoing maintenance. Now, the initial costs for solar sometimes can be pretty financially large, I should say. Now, some of the financial benefits of going solar is reduced energy bills. So when I say reduced energy bills, some people I know are still on the grid, and then they supplement their off the grid stuff with their solar. So if the power goes down, they shift over. I know folks that during the day, they run off the solar, and at night they run off the batteries. There are some states that pay you for having solar. So you need to check out your state or your city and what are their requirements for going solar. Now, if you do go solar, I recommend that you consult an experienced person or even an electrician to do this kind of work. Because when I first started this thing, I did not know a lick about solar. Now, before the Solar Angler came in and helped me with this system, I always thought, you just hook up positive and negative and you're good. Well, there was a lot more. It was a steep learning curve because, one, safety is the number one objective when you're wiring something like this. I don't want to burn this cabin down. And there are a lot of things that come into play, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And I hope this video is not too lengthy, but it'll give you some kind of sense or ideas of how to do your electrical system. Now, the benefits for solar is reduce energy bills. Like I said, I know people that have grid and off-grid together. Mine is just completely off-grid. So generating your own electricity reduces the amount you purchase from your utility provider, which can significantly, and I mean significantly, lower or even eliminate your monthly expenses for electricity. Another advantage is you are protected from price hikes or rate hikes by locking in a fixed rate for solar installation. Like I said, there is a cost, financial cost, initial cost for the system, but by locking in a fixed rate for solar installation or generating your own power, you as a consumer protect yourself against unpredictable traditional raise in energy costs. And like I mentioned in just a second ago, some states have incentives or tax credits, and they have financial programs like the Federal Residential Clean Energy Act or the Clean Energy Credit Act. And it allows homeowners to significantly reduce the net cost of their solar system. And then, of course, it increases your property value. Homes equipped with solar panels frequently sell faster and at higher price points than comparable non-solar properties. Now, and what about the environmental benefits of having solar? Now, solar panels produce completely clean, renewable power with zero greenhouse gas emissions. So, it's doing good for the environment. You reduce water usage, unlike traditional thermal or nuclear power plants that require millions of gallons of water for cooling systems and their gas turbines, steam turbines, and photovoltaic systems require no water to generate electricity. Now, also decrease air pollution is a big one right there. Generating solar electricity helps maintain or mitigate climate change and reduces airborne pollutants like sulfur oxides, particulate matter, and it improves overall air quality. Of course, I'm not going to see it in my lifetime, but I can say I am contributing to that. Another advantage is low maintenance. Solar panels have no moving parts and require very minimal upkeep beyond occasionally cleaning it and wiping it down. Now, they're versatile. Solar arrays can be installed anywhere the sun shines, and from expensive commercial solar farms to remote off-grid cabins and residential rooftops. Now, it depends on where you're going to set your panels. You need to find out what's the best area where you're going to get the most sun. But the drawback to solar is if you have inclement weather. So those are some of the advantages that I found out for my system. Now, I've never ran any kind of solar, system on any of my homes, but I tell you what, if I had to go back 20 or 30 years, I should have done that from the very beginning, because all the money I could have saved. So there's a lot of videos on the internet or on YouTube about solar, lithium batteries, how to wire them up, how to test them, and what's all involved. And the person that I subscribe to, that I found out is the most knowledgeable and will be completely transparent and honest with you, is Will Prowse. And he is to me, the lithium battery guru. Now, he tests a lot of battery. He gets them, he takes them apart right away, and he tells you if these batteries are worthwhile. Now, there are a lot more other folks out there, but he is the one that I always go to first to watch if I'm doing any kind of work on my lithium system. The 80-20 rule for lithium batteries is a usage guideline that recommends you keeping your battery or your state of charge between 20% and 80% for everyday use. Now, why does the 20-80% rule works? Well, lithium batteries, or also known as LiFePO4, degrade due to chemical stress. Now, these stress peaks at the extreme high and low ends of the cycle charge. Now, the upper limit we're going to talk about first is 80%. Now, when you pump the final 20% of energy into a battery, it requires higher voltage and generates excess internal heat. This accelerates the wearing down of the battery's internal components. Now, when I'm about 80 and 90%, I come over, I check the wires, I make sure these things aren't hot. I check the inverter's running, the fan, and I make sure that the system doesn't overload or overheat. Now, these have a built-in, what they call BMS, and battery management system, and if certain safety conditions are met or exceeded, it shuts the battery down. So the lower limit, 20%, when it drops down, it's allowing a battery to drop too low and causes voltage drops and destabilizes the cell chemistry. It also pushes the battery into a deep discharge, which requires more effort. So maintaining and charging your batteries between 20 and 80% seems to be the safe zone. The cons to that is sticking strictly to this rule means a willingness to limit your usable battery capacity to 60%, which might result in needing to charge more frequently. Now, right now I've got 68%. I turn on my solar switch, my breaker there, first thing in the morning when I wake up. And as you can see, this little green light's blinking, and I've got solar power coming in. Now, it isn't at the point where it's going to be pumping in tons of solar right now, because it is only, what time is it? It's 8 o'clock. It takes about 9:30 is when I get the most amount of sun starts getting into the panels. So ultimately, if you're planning to keep a high investment item like an electric bike or your solar arrays for many years, keeping to that 80-20 rule will drastically extend the life of that equipment. So now let's get to the meat and potatoes. Let's talk about connecting your batteries, series or parallel. Now, I have friends with their off-grid property. I have friends that run series, and I have friends that run parallel, or I know people that run series and parallel together. Now, what works best for me, and this is based on my requirements and my setup, I decided to wire all my stuff in parallel. Now, if you look at the 48 volt system here, this 48 volt system is in parallel, and I'll talk about the difference in parallel and series. A friend of mine in South Carolina, he's got his stuff in series. But based on your application will determine whether you want series or parallel. Whether you wire your lithium batteries in series or parallel depends entirely on your system's power needs. Now, series, you will use series to increase a voltage for power-hungry appliances, or parallel to increase amp hour or longevity, extended runtime. Now, series connections increases voltage, and how it works is you connect the positive terminal of the first battery to the negative terminal on the second battery. Now that effect adds up, but the capacity, the amp hours or the battery storage remains the same. Okay, so for example, you're wiring two 12-volt batteries, 100 amp hour batteries in series, creates 24 volts, but your 100 amp hour stays the same. Okay, now series are best used for larger RVs, heavy duty off-grid solar systems that require like golf carts that require 24, 36, or 48 volt setups to run efficiently and reduce cable thickness. But the rule of thumb is always use identical batteries of the same brand and capacity to ensure your battery safety. Again, you cannot wire up a 200 amp hour battery with a 300 amp hour battery or a 100 amp battery. Now for me, I don't like mixing battery brands up. I know they're pretty much almost the same, but I'd rather be safe and run the same brand, the same power consumption, the same voltage, and the same amp hours. And you can increase any of those by using the series or parallel configuration. Now let's talk about parallel, okay? And that's what I have in my cabin. Now how it works is in parallel, you connect all the positive terminals together and all the negative terminals together. Okay, the result is the capacity or the amp hour and runtime add together, but your voltage of the batteries will stay the same. So for example, I have two 12-volt, 200 amp hour batteries, lithium batteries. You hook all the positive to positive and negative to negatives, and I still keep 12 volts out of all those batteries, but my 200 amp hours just increase to 400 amp hours. Make sense? Now that configuration is best for off-grid solar systems and RV and boats that rely on a 12-volt system. You know, you can run using that configuration for days. And the advantages is if one battery fails, your system stays functional. Now we're going to get to the wiring and some of the safeguards for parallel and series. Now before any of this stuff, wiring stuff in parallel and series, I had no idea. And if it wasn't for John McClappin from the AKA the Sonar Angler, I did not know this. And he educated me and explained thoroughly the difference of the whole system, the wire sizes, the amperage, the volts, I mean, all that. And I am very fortunate to have someone who had taught me or educated me. Setting up a system, you're gonna have to take in consideration wire size. Now, when I mean wire size, the wire size or the battery cables. Now, not all battery cables will work with all batteries. And I found this out through, I should say, experience, because cables do get hotter in parallel than in series, because in parallel, circuits force more electrical current through the main wires. Series circuits limit the current because electrical heat is generated by current moving through wire resistance. Okay, so higher the current, the hotter the cable. So for my system, I have it in parallel. And what I did is I used, I think 10 gauge wire that came with the battery system, a prior battery system. And I noticed within 2 minutes, the wires started to get warm. And I was like, yep, this is too thin of a wire. Because in parallel wiring, think of it as adding lanes to a highway, I guess. Each device, like a 12-volt light or appliance, gets its own direct path to the battery. While each device receives the correct 12 volts, the total current or the amperage required by all the devices adds up. So the main cables carry this entire load and must handle it, causing them to heat up. So 10 gauge wire for a 12 volt in parallel system does not work, and your cables will get hot. It could even melt. But I disconnected it and I contacted the sonar angler, and he recommended me to go with 6 gauge wire. Now in series, the series circuit components are connected to end like a single chain. Now the electricity only has one path to follow, meaning the same amount of current passes through every device in the loop. This configuration typically results in much lower current passing through the cables where it would stay cooler. So how to prevent overheating? And I found this out the hard way. In just a minute, I just wanted to run that test and see. But if your cables start running hot, it usually means the wire is too thin. The amount of current being drawn into your parallel circuit, like mine. Now, you need to increase the wire thickness. So you need to switch to a thicker cable with a lower gauge number. My 12 volt that I'm going to be showing you is 6 gauge. And 10 gauge came with the previous batteries before, but like I said, that 10 gauge got really warm. Then you need to divide the load. Instead of running everything to one long run of wire, you need to separate your parallel devices into smaller separate fuse circuits. And I will show you that. I was told not to put more than 3 terminals on each battery post. Now, safety on a battery is pretty important, and safeguards in place. They sell things that you can get to help that. Now, everything's separate. They don't come with the battery. The only thing that comes with the battery nowadays with the lithium iron phosphate batteries is BMS, Battery Management System. It has safeguards in place for overheating, overprotection, overtemp, low temp, overcharging, undercharging, and it will shut the battery down. But you would need to set up something like this. Now, in parallel, the sonar angler did configure these for me for the positive side, and this is a 6 gauge wire, and that is plenty for my configuration. Now on the 6 gauge, he did put a 100 amp fuse, and this is a marine grade fuse, and that if you take off this cap, you can attach your terminal components to that. And then this right here goes to the battery. Now, if there's a problem with a battery, some kind of major problem, this fuse will prevent the other batteries from getting damaged. And there are one of these on each side. So this will go to the positive on one battery, and this goes to the positive on the other. But this will go from the negative to the negative on the battery. So the configuration of the batteries will sit just like this. Now let's go ahead and hook up our positive terminals. So Lead Time did give me these wrenches, M8 bolts or wrench. So make sure that your terminals are tight, because if they are loose, your wires could get hot because of improper current or flow through there. Okay, and then I will be putting these covers on there as well. All right, so let's go ahead and put on the negative side. Oh, before we start, these batteries come with straps. I pulled the straps off, so I don't need the straps. But as you can see, positive and positive. And then now we're going to go with the negative and negative. Okay, so we got everything kind of snugged down, so we need to connect the 12-volt charger. So the 12-volt charger is going to go to this battery post here. And let's run this under here. I like my wires neat. I got a little bit of OCD. Always put the bigger terminal on the bottom closest to the battery. And this wire right here is the battery charger wire. Okay, and then the positive for that will go to this terminal up here. And it's going to be on the other side of the fuse. And then when we get done, before we get done, we're going to snug down all the bolts. Okay, so the mini split AC power cord is going to go to this terminal here. Okay, so now we can tighten these up because we won't be adding anything else to this. I'll probably do some tie wraps. The other side of the charger is going to go to this one right here, which we have. Positive to positive with the fuse that goes on from battery 1 to battery 2. The negative and negative from the batteries from 1 to 2. Then we go to our 12-volt charger. This right here is the charger positive wire to the charger negative wire. So we can tighten these up. Those are done. Okay, and then our split unit AC will go to this terminal here, which is this wire, and to this one here on battery 1. So we're all good on that. So let's go ahead and tighten everything down. And I'm going to go ahead and put the terminal covers on here as well, so I don't have anything touching the system. So how is all this going to tie in to these batteries? Okay, so right here I have a 30 amp MPPT solar charge controller. It's a 12 volt, 24 volt. It is separate from this 48 volt system for my 2 batteries in parallel. Now what we need to do is just imagine there is a solar array outside, a 12 volt solar array. Those cables will come through my pass-through, and those solar panels will connect to these MC4 connectors, your positive and negative. So if you look at the cables, the Solar Angler did do an excellent job on putting these terminals on here, proper terminals, and then heat shrink them to prevent any kind of fraying. So that will go into where it says PV, or your solar panels positive and negative. From there, out of the MPPT controller, you have 2 cables, positive and negative, which have the same terminals on there just like the other one, and those will connect into the positive and negative of your battery output. Okay, so that will come out to there. At the end of the cables, we do have ring terminals, and these are 5/16 ring terminals, and these will hook up to the battery. Okay, we got power on. The louver just opened. Let's adjust the temp to 16 and crank this bad boy up full blast. And we are blowing code AC. Now we're going to check the state of charge on the batteries. Okay, I've got 2 batteries, battery 1 and battery 2. And right now, we are at 99%, and it says discharging. That's on one battery. That's it's hard to do one-handed here. And let's go on the other battery, and it says 93%, and it's also discharging. So at this temperature, sorry it's in Celsius, there's no way to change it to Fahrenheit. That's the coldest. I think that's 62 degrees or 61 degrees. At full fan speed, we've got 99% on our battery, and right under there it says estimated 10.59 hours remaining of usage. So I've got 10 hours that I can run this AC with my battery set up in parallel. We got the AC running, but I want to show you that I am not using this system here, because that thing should be pulling about 600 watts. As you can see right here, I've got 25 watts being used to the cabin. So there you go. And this thing's blowing some cold air. All right, gang, so that is the difference between series and parallel, as well as setting up the Lithium 12.8 200 amp hour batteries. As you can see, I've got almost 11 hours of runtime on that split air conditioner on just two 200 amp hour batteries. So I know this video was kind of lengthy, but I hope it offered enough information, or kind of shed some light on how series and parallel work, and as far as installation of what you need for your batteries if you're going to wire it in series or parallel. And like I mentioned, when I started these systems, I didn't have an idea of how any of this stuff works. But through proper education and research and watching videos from the Sonar Angler and also Will Prowse on YouTube, you are able to do something like this safely. And that's the biggest thing, safety. And always consult with an electrician or somebody in that field prior to setting this up. Now, always check for, your wires getting hot, monitor temperatures. This system runs extremely cool. I have 4-gauge or even 3-gauge wire on the 48 system here, and none of this stuff gets warm or hot, and everything runs perfect. So I want to thank Lithium for providing us the two 12.8 200 amp hour lithium batteries. These are the minis, and you can get it on lithium.com as well. These batteries are awesome. They're all Bluetooth, they're light, they're small for 200 amp hours. I am pumping over 5,120 watt hours into my mini split to keep myself in Hoku cool during the hot summer months. And thank you, Lithium. And I also want to thank John McClapton, the Sonar Angler, for providing all the components for these batteries. We're talking cables, fuses, terminals, and he also sent Hoku some pepperoni treats, and also sent me M&M peanuts. I'm a big M&M peanuts kind of guy, so you guys could send me some if you guys want to. But anyway, thank you again for joining. I know this video was a little bit lengthy, but I felt that I had to do it to provide some proper information on series parallel and the proper way to set up a system. So until the next video, oh wait, subscribe, like, and comment, man, and that will be a great help to the video. I am actually started the Off-Grid Gumby channel, and we're doing extremely well. I just need about 1,000 more watch hours so I can start monetizing this channel. So hold on, I'll wait right here. You guys go ahead and subscribe. It only takes just a second. You guys done yet? So until the next video, this is Ben from the Off-Grid Cabin. Off-Grid Gumby out.